Welcome to Lesson 14, PSRM Fundamentals Overview. Here we will be discussing bankruptcy, and we'll discuss the bankruptcy entity in the system and the processes that involved the life cycle that needs to go through in order to finalize the bankruptcy and move it to a discharge process. And along the way, we'll be seeing other types of functionality like the pay plan being used and other things as well. This particular store, BBB, can now no longer pay its $200. So we're going to finish the story by adding in another type of case management functionality, and I'm going to add in that bankruptcy now and see how that works. So you can pick up a bankruptcy type, and I'm going to take, for example, reorganization of the business, Chapter 11, and what I can do is I put in the petition date. And since I've filed for bankruptcy, there is a court which is associated with this particular bankruptcy, and imagine that we have there's some court information there we can use. Filing type, again, we can talk about reorganization, and you can put in some milestones that need to be fulfilled in order the whole bankruptcy should be filled. Like a bar date will be done on a specific date, and so on and so forth. And again, related persons, an accountant, could be myself again. I'm going to save that. And this particular business needs to send in a proof, needs to have proof of claim that it's entered bankruptcy. They start the review process in order for the bankruptcy to begin. Obviously, the taxpayers wants to actually discharge the extra amount of $200 and not need to pay. And this is the process. Well, one thing we can't do, we need to actually say which particular obligation is covered in this bankruptcy, and we have this particular one which is outstanding for $200, the claim type. We can select apply changes, and it moves the particular obligation to the covered obligation which is under the bankruptcy request. Now that we have a covered obligation, then we can actually start the review. And as we had in the other cases, well, we can do additional actions. We can create a proof of claim that they need to prove that the actually has entered bankruptcy. Send a letter asking for a proof of claim from the court. You can see the proof of claim sent to the court over there, and we could dismiss the whole bankruptcy and the charge will remain, or we can start other actions. And other actions that can be applied are, we'll see in a minute, are things like create a pay plan. No, this particular taxpayer is not allowed to discharge his debt until he actually creates a pay plan, and we want to try that method of recovering our money. So I can set up a pay plan directly from here. Here's a pay plan over here. It's in pending state. I could even try to create one. And if you do recommend, it will show you the scheduled payments beginning from today, and it will create some schedule. So you see that we've created on the last of each month amounts that need to be paid. Obviously these amounts are very small. Imagine you wouldn't go into bankruptcy, you wouldn't actually have a pay plan for this, but it shows the concept. If I now go back to the bankruptcy, cancel, I haven't saved, say I activate my pay plan. So now I have a pay plans that this particular taxpayer is now bound to. I go back to my bankruptcy. If I actually try to dismiss this charge and discharge the amount of 200, I could dismiss it because I have a. I can dismiss the bankruptcy because I have a. I have a pay plan, but I definitely shouldn't be allowed to discharge it because I have a pay plan which is active. So, see what happens now. And there you say the active pay plan, so you can't actually move this bankruptcy along. Well, if I go back to the pay plan and I could dismiss it, I could break it or cancel the whole thing. I should now be able to discharge finish and discharge the bankruptcy. Now, normally when you discharge, it can automatically create an overdue and to write off the amount. In this particular case, it's discharge. I can close it, and when I close it again, the suppression is cancelled. The amount, if I close this, discharge completed, and I can actually write down or write off the rest of the amount. So suppression has been cancelled, and I don't know if you noticed that P&I was under suppression. So during the period of the bankruptcy, the P&I was actually suppressed as well, and the balance went down to 100. Once we cancelled it, we closed, discharge is completed, then it was the suppression was cancelled and the P&I was added back on. Anyway, so the discharge is completed, and you could actually write off this amount by doing an overdue process to complete the picture. Okay, so this is the life cycle of the bankruptcy. It has it doesn't have a review process like the audit and the appeal has, but it does have other aspects, new things. For example, the fact that you need to create a proof of claim, you can create a pay plan, the fact that you can actually discharge the amount, and its suppression type is different. In this case, we saw P&I was also under suppression. So if we have a look at the summary, we see that I believe actually there is a review process as well here that you could actually do. We didn't actually see that, but so what do we see? We see that it starts in a pending state and it goes review in progress, and you can either discharge the amount, the actual, and write off the amount, or you can dismiss the bankruptcy completely, and the suppressions will be removed in the end, similar to the other types of case life cycles, case management life cycles. So that is basically the summary of bankruptcy. We have covered obligations, we have suppression, pay plans, proof of claim, and a discharge process, which normally can lead to a write-off of the total amount.